Now you have understood the outline of whole lesson, what it involves, what type of reproduction we have studied. Based on all the explanation which I have done, let's solve the exercise given in your textbook on page 159. The first question, which involves the fill in the blanks, easy ones, 1 mark questions. You have to write the fill in the blank in the complete sentence form. Remember, only one word answer is not acceptable in SSC. So you have to write the complete answer, complete sentence, write the fill in the blank, underline the fill in the blank with pencil only. Do not use any colored pen in your paper. This is very important tip. First question, fill in the blanks. First one, the two main methods of reproduction are dash and dash. Very easy. Just now we saw asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. So the two methods are asexual and sexual. Second part, the functional unit in a plant's sexual reproduction is. Now in a plant, I told you vegetative propagation is also possible, but the functional unit to form a seed and then the plant is the flower. So the answer is flower. The third one, the male reproductive part of a flower is dash. The male reproductive part is stamen, which consists of anther and filament. So stamen is the answer. S-T-A-M-E-N. Fourth one, when the transfer of pollen from an anther to stigma occurs in the same flower, the process is called dash. Now here, in the same flower, the anther is falling on the stigma. So it is called as self-pollination. Next one, fifth one, dash give rise to variety and diversity. I said that due to sexual reproduction, what is present? The variations are present. So the answer is variations due to sexual reproduction is responsible or give rise to variety and diversity. Sixth one, Hydra uses regenerative cells for reproduction in the process of dash. The Hydra is using budding as the process of reproduction. So answer is budding. Yeast reproduces by dash. Now yeast is a unicellular organism and Hydra is a multicellular organism, but both show the same type of asexual reproduction, that is budding. So this answer also is budding. Eighth one, during unfavorable conditions, dash type of fission is seen in amoeba. I told you when there are no favorable conditions, the amoeba restricts itself into a circle and then a cyst is formed. And therefore, the answer is multiple type of fission is seen in amoeba. Ninth one, a basic process in reproduction is the creation of dash copy. Now, when the reproduction is taking place, what do we want? We want the DNA of the parent. So if it is a single parent, or complete DNA is mapped. If it is a two parents, the one part of the chromosome comes from the male, one part comes from the female. So here the answer is DNA copy. 10th one, dash is necessary to maintain the number of individuals of a species. To maintain so many organisms on this earth and for the continuity of generation, what is required? Reproduction. So your answer is reproduction. Let's go on to next question number 2. Write the correlated terms. Now one relation is given to you. The second relation we have to logically think. First relation, amoeba is to simple binary fission. Now amoeba undergoes binary fission. But then paramecium undergoes what? It undergoes binary fission but transfers binary fission. Amoeba has an irregular shape, so any plane it can happen. So amoeba simple binary fission and paramecium transfers binary fission. When I say transfers, like this, and longitudinal like this. Second one, planaria is to regeneration. That means regeneration is seen in planaria. So rhizopus is to dash. So what is seen in rhizopus? Rhizopus, this is an example of fungus and the spore formation is seen. So the answer to it is spore formation. Third one, root, stem and leaf are correlated with vegetative propagation. So what is related with now? Flower. The flower is related with sexual reproduction. Now, when I said the first correlation, it was involving the asexual mode of reproduction. But second, when I say flower, flower means here the sexual reproduction is taking place. Next one, asexual reproduction are showing similarity, but sexual reproductions are showing variations. So this is a different, major difference. The asexual reproduction shows similar, exact copy of the parent, but in the sexual reproduction, the next generation is not the exact copy of the parent. They are having lot of variations. Come to page 160. Question number 3. There are some diagrams given. Now you have to identify the mode of reproduction in each. The first one is the amoeba, which is shown, and the mode of reproduction here is binary fission. So you can write under the diagram binary fission. B part, second part is showing an hydra, and hydra is getting cut in between. That means no budding is shown. Here it is cut. So if it is cut, what happens? Whatever the cut parts is there, the regenerative cells start developing it. So here, which mode of reproduction is seen? Regeneration. You will be making a mistake of writing the in the hydra the budding, but in the diagram no bud is shown. So it is not the bud mode of reproduction, it is the regeneration. C part, here we see one branch being put in the soil. From one branch the new branches are coming. That is vegetative propagation. This was about question number 3. Let's move to question number 4. Explain the following terms. First one, reproduction. Simple. This whole lesson we have learned about reproduction. What is reproduction? For the continuity of the species, the new production of the species, the method which is applied, or the process of regenerating or making the new species from the original one, this is called as reproduction. Second is vegetative propagation. As I said, vegetative propagation is seen in plants. The parts of the plant like stem, like root, like flower, like branches, they can grow into a new plant. But when I say flower, it is involving only sexual reproduction. So the vegetative propagation is done through root, through stem, and through branches. You can give the example along with your answer. Third one, pollination. Pollination means the transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma of the same flower or the different flower for the process of fertilization. This is called as pollination. So you can explain what is self-pollination, and plus you can explain what is cross-pollination. Question 5. Write the functions of the following organs in reproduction. Now you have to only mention the functions stepwise, or you can write point-wise the answers. The first one, vagina. The vagina is the first 3 major roles it plays. First, it is the passage for menstrual fluid to come out. Second, it is the passage for the well-developed fetus or the baby to come out. And third, it is also a pathway for the sperms to enter for fertilization. So 3 major roles it plays. Write the function of stigma. Now, what is stigma? Stigma is the part of female reproductive organ in flower. So stigma can, first point, it is the receptor for the pollen grains in the female reproductive organ. Secondly, the pollen grain germinates on the anther, the pollen grain germinates on the stigma, and a pollen tube is formed. And this is how the stigma helps in anchoring of the pollen grains. Third one, what is the function of ovaries? Now ovaries have very major function. First, it produces the egg for fertilization. Second, it produces a hormone which is called as estrogen. Estrogen is responsible for development of secondary sexual characters in female. And this is very important, and these are released by ovulation. So third one, it is released by the process of ovulation. Fourth question, what is the function of seminal vesicle and prostate glands? These two glands or these two organs are very important in male reproductive system because it is producing the fluid which is giving it the nutrition and the protection. Nutrition and protection to what? It is giving nutrition and protection to sperm which is produced by the testes. And this fluid which is produced is called as ejaculatory fluid, and which is giving the nutrition for the easy passage of the male cell, and it also protects it. Fifth one, what is the function of uterus? Now uterus help in actually fixing the fetus in its lining, and that lining is called as endometrium. So the uterus first function is fixing the fetus or the zygote in its lining or endometrium. Second, it is helping in pushing out the full grown or matured baby. Question 6, which I have already drawn. Draw the labeled diagram of longitudinal section of flower. You have to draw the longitudinal section showing all the reproductive parts of male and female in the hibiscus plant. You can take a very easy example of hibiscus plant. Then question number 2, draw a label diagram of binary fission. First show in amoeba, full grown amoeba with its nucleus, with its pseudopodia, with its cytoplasm, with its vacuole. Then next diagram you show that the nucleus is dividing and the cytoplasm has started dividing. And third diagram you can show it is already almost divided. And the fourth diagram you will show that it has separated into daughter cells. Third, draw a well-labeled diagram of spore formation in mucor. I had shown you how the spore formation takes place. You have to draw a ball which is called as sporangium, a filament attached to it which is attached to the rhizoid part, the base part, and this sporangium inside is consisting of number of small particles which are called as spores. So this diagram is also important. Next diagram, human female reproductive system. Here you have to show the longitudinal section of all the parts. You have to show the oviduct, the ovaries, the uterus, the vagina, the cervix, and the endometrium. These are the very important labeled diagram. Now remember children, if you are asked to draw a diagram and you are not very good in art, you don't know how to draw very well, but you try and your labeling should be correct, then you get full marks. It's not that your diagram should be beautifully done. It can be done in the way you want, practice for many times, and then label correctly. If you are labeling correctly, you are getting full marks for it. Another tip for diagram, when you are making a diagram, leave some space on the right side more of the diagram and label the diagram all on the right side, as I was doing in your teaching part. Label the diagram on the right side, write all the names in one straight line. This will give you full marks for the diagram, even though if your diagram is not beautiful. These are the small tips for the diagram related question. Question 7. Answer the following. First one, what are the advantages of sexual reproduction over asexual reproduction? Now I had given you a full chart at the starting. What is the advantage of asexual reproduction? What is the advantage of sexual reproduction over asexual reproduction? Now first advantage, you can say sexual reproduction is bringing out lot of variations in human beings or any animal. Then these variations are important to show the variety of organisms on this earth. We see diversity in types of organisms. We see that they are better adaptable to the new environment, and also sexual reproduction is important to prevent the extinction of that species. So many advantages it has over asexual reproduction. Question 2 of 7th one, why does menstruation occur? Now I had explained you that female reproductive organs have an ovary, and this ovary releases one egg a month. That means in a month only one egg is released. That egg travels to the oviduct. When it travels to the tube oviduct, it stays there for 3 to 4 days. Now, if the fertilization is happening, that means during that 3 to 4 days time, if the sperm is fusing with the egg, it forms a zygote. But if by chance it is not fusing or it is not getting fertilized, what will happen to that egg? The body throws the egg out. So the oviduct will send the egg down in the uterus. Now by that time uterus have already prepared its lining. That means the lining was endometrium, which became thick. Why it became thick? So that it can hold on to the new zygote which is formed. But now there was no fusion, so no zygote is formed, and egg cell has to be sent out. So that egg along with the lining of endometrium is pushed out of the body, and this is called as menstrual fluid, and this is important so that the egg which is of no use now, it has to be sent outside the body. Third question, describe sexual reproduction in plants. Now in plants, if you remember the diagram, you can imagine that there was one female reproductive part and a male reproductive part. The female reproductive part, 3 parts are there: stigma, style and ovary. And in male reproductive part, which is called stamen, it has 2 parts, anther and second is filament. So what is happening in the sexual reproduction in plants? The anther or the pollen grains, which we know, they settle on the stigma part of the female reproductive system. At the stigma, they settle down, they fix themselves, and when they fix themselves, a tube-like structure starts forming, and that is called as pollen tube. That pollen tube travels down to the ovary. Now the pollen tube is carrying 2 male cells. From where these male cells have come? These 2 male cells have come from the pollen grains. The one of the male cell will fuse with the egg, forming a zygote, and the other male cell will fuse with to form the endosperm. Now how does it form the endosperm? It fuses with the secondary nucleus of the embryo sac. Inside the embryo sac there is another nucleus present which fuses with the second male cell, and they form an endosperm. And this endosperm actually is giving the nutrition to the ovule or the zygote, which is formed from the ovule and the male cell. This was about the sexual reproduction. This ovule after fertilization forms the seed, and the endosperm forms the fruit. And then this seed again starts growing into a new plant. This is how the sexual reproduction takes place in plants. Question 4. Describe the modes of reproduction in unicellular organism. We saw in the concept map, again I will tell you, remind you that unicellular organisms are the organisms which are made up of only one cell. So here the examples by which the reproduction can take place are through binary fission, which is seen in amoeba. Secondly, it is through multiple fission, which is also seen in amoeba but in unfavorable conditions. And third, it is seen in budding, which is the best example is yeast. So these all are unicellular organisms, and these are the 3 ways in which the reproduction takes place. Question 5. Explain disadvantages of large family size. I had ended the lesson with the need for small family. Now why is the need for the small family? First of all, mother's health or the girl's physical health is very important. So this, for the physical health of the mother or the girl, it is important that the big family is not recommended. Secondly, economical pressure is lots. Financial condition is not so good. Poverty line is there. Poverty is there among lot of people, and they are not able to afford the good life or the good nutritious food or even the good education for so many children. And these are the reasons why the family should be small and family planning should be done. Even the government is encouraging the people to go for a small family, and small family is said to be very satisfied with whatever it can get, and that is why it can the parents can give a better education, a better nutritive life or the good life to the children. Question number 8. Write short notes on the following. Pollination. Now here I have repeatedly told you what is pollination. So what points should come in this? If you are getting a short note on pollination, first write what is the definition of pollination, what is the importance of pollination, then what is self-pollination, then what is cross-pollination, and does it have importance in some production of the grains or production of nectar. So all these things you have to mention in this. First the definition, then the importance, then the types of pollination should come in your short note. Second type is regeneration. Now you have to mention what is first regeneration. It is an asexual type of reproduction seen in multicellular organism. Now here actually the reproduction is not taking place from the parent, but there are some specialized cells present which are growing if a body part is breaking, and this is the regeneration. You can give example of hydra, you can give example of lizard which I have given, and how the regeneration takes place over the period of time. Third one, germination of seed. Now I have explained you the whole sexual reproduction in plants. Now when the ovule is fusing with the male cell to form the seed, and this seed is growing into a new plant under favorable condition, this seed gives out a plumule and a radicle. Now radicle is a part which grows into a root, and the plumule is a part which grows into a plant. And this process of germinating or developing from a seed is called as germination. Fourth short note, multiple fission. Again repeated question. The multiple fission is seen in the amoeba under unfavorable conditions. Under unfavorable conditions, these amoeba retracts its pseudopodia. The pseudopodia which had the outgrowth out, which used for locomotion, they have retracted complete in a type of circle. It is enclosed in a thick covering which is known as cyst, and this cyst protects the inner amoeba. These amoeba continuously divide inside till the favorable conditions are present. Under favorable conditions, it bursts open. When it bursts open, all the amoebas come out, and this is called as multiple fission. And finally, write short note on importance of variation. Now variation is very, very important. When the reproduction takes place, the DNA is copied from parent to offspring. Now in case of asexual reproduction, the DNA is copied through the mitosis, that means continuous cell division takes place, and there is no change of diploid cell to haploid cell. But in case of sexual reproduction, this changes to haploid cell. One haploid cell from male, one haploid cell from female fuses to form a zygote, and this zygote forms a new individual. Obviously, there are bound to be variations as DNA copy is not perfect. There are errors in the DNA copy, and therefore this gives rise to variations. And when these variations occur, are they beneficial to us? They are very, very beneficial to us. These variations bring out a large variety and diversity of organisms. When I say large variety, we know there are thousands and thousands of species of plants and animals. But how it has come into being? Because of these variations. These variations are also important for the better adaptability of the organism in the new surroundings, and therefore it removes the fear of extinction. So it prevents extinction also. So this is the importance of variation which is occurring because of sexual reproduction. We have gone through the exercise questions of your lesson. Now let me discuss with you some extra questions, some questions which must have come in the board exam, some questions how to write it in the short or the to the point answers. Let's start with the question, what is mitosis and how will you show diagrammatic representation of mitosis? Now what is mitosis? We generally see mitosis process in the asexual reproduction. It is a type of cell division which happens in the somatic cells. Somatic cells which are not the reproductive cells. So it happens in the somatic cells, and it only helps in the growth of the organism or growth and development of the organism. How will you show it diagrammatically? You can show like this, that means the parent cell has 2n chromosomes. Now exact division is taking place and 2 daughter cells are formed without changing from diploid to haploid, without changing from 2n to n. This is the diagrammatic representation of mitosis, daughter cells, and this is how you can show that mitosis takes place in somatic cells, which is only responsible for growth and development. Then what is meiosis? Now meiosis is a cell division which occurs in the reproductive cells. Now reproductive cells, that means here the parent 2n is changing into haploid cells. So I can say 2n, which is the parent cell, is changing into n and n. That means it is dividing from diploid to haploid. This n continues to form again division n. This is the germ cells which are required for reproduction, and here the mitosis is taking place, but here the meiosis is taking place. This difference is the mitosis is happening in the somatic cells, it's for the growth and development, but the meiosis is happening in the reproductive cells, which are actually producing the haploid gametes or the male and female gametes for reproduction. Next, what is cloning? Now cloning, have you heard about the cloning? The first sheep, which was as dolly. Now first sheep was made by cloning. What they did, the research scientists wanted to make an individual from one cell, which is not the fusion of male and female gamete. So what they did, they took one cell from the healthy sheep and tried various methods on it to reproduce the same sheep as their daughter sheep, and this is how the first clone. The clone is the exact identical part of yours. If I say my clone, that means someone must have made myself same from one cell of me. So the scientists were successful in making a clone of a sheep, and this which had the exact identical characteristics like the mother sheep. This is called as cloning. The next question: what are the processes of meiosis and fertilization necessary in sexual reproduction? That means, why are these two processes important in sexual reproduction? In sexual reproduction, as we know, it involves the fusion of male and female gamete. But for female gamete and male gamete to convert from 2n to n, meiosis process is required. From diploid, that means from male has 2 chromosomes, one chromosome has to be given for, one chromosome part has to be given for the fertilization. So from diploid to haploid, this is here the meiosis process is used. And for fertilization involves the fusion of male and female forming a zygote, which is diploid. So this is how the two processes are very important for sexual reproduction. Which mode of reproduction give rise to variations and what is its importance? This came for 2015 March for 3-mark question. First, you have to write which mode of reproduction is giving the variations. So we can just have 1 point. Sexual reproduction is responsible for giving a lot of variations as exact DNA copying is not done, or exact DNA copying is not possible. So since there is no exact copy of DNA copying, there are a lot of errors in which leads to the variation. This is the first part of the answer. Second part of the answer is what is its importance. As I had told you repeatedly, variations bring about the variety and the diversity of organisms. It helps in the preventing of extinction. It helps the organisms to better adapt to the new environment. And this is how the survival rate increases. Next question: what are the advantages of vegetative propagation? Now, vegetative propagation advantages are many. That means the new plant develops very fast. That means time required to form a new plant from vegetative parts is very less. So that is first. Secondly, it shows the exact characteristics of the original plants. No change is seen in that. And thirdly, as compared to the plants growing from the seeds, these plants bear flowers and fruits in a less time. So they grow rapidly, they grow seeds and fruits also rapidly, and they are very similar to the parent plant. The next question, very important, related to sexual reproduction in plants. Why is fertilization in plants called as double fertilization? Write the names of the parts which is involved in it. Now, sexual reproduction involves the pollen grains to fall in the stigma. From the stigma, the pollen tube is formed. The pollen tube is carrying two male cells. One of the male cells is fusing with the egg in the ovary, forming the zygote, and the second male cell is fusing with the secondary nucleus of the embryo sac, forming the endosperm. 2 times fertilization is taking place, and that is why it is called as double fertilization. Double fertilization, why? Because two male cells both are getting involved. One is getting fused with the egg and the other is getting fused with the secondary nucleus of the embryo, and that is why this is called as double fertilization. Now, if you are asked to write what short note on twins, then what will you write? So I had explained you the twins are possible in 2 ways. One set of twins are called as identical twins. One set of twins are called as fraternal twins. So what are identical twins? The twins which are formed by one zygote. Now you all know in the oviduct the fusion of male and female sperm and ova is taking place. It is formed the zygote. Now zygote is ready to come down in the uterus part. But due to some reasons it divides into 2. That means exact half it is happening, and these 2 are getting fixed in the uterus and developing at the same time. Now there was only one zygote and it has divided into 2, so either that zygote will have male or female child. So the identical twins is possible only if they have 2 males or 2 females. That means two identical children can be either male or female, not one male and not one female. But in case of fraternal fertilization, of fraternal twins, what happens? After time, instead of one egg, 2 eggs may be released, and this is rare. So 2 eggs are released and 2 sperms are actually fusing with 2 different eggs. At the same time, 2 zygotes are formed, and these 2 zygotes develop into the twins, which can be either one boy or one girl, or 2 boys or 2 girls. So this is the story behind 2 types of twins which we are generally seeing. What changes occur in girls and boys during puberty? Now there is one whole chart in your book where it shows that up to the age of 10 to 11, normal type of height, weight, teeth, hair, this type of growth is seen. But in the reproductive age, the boys and the girls will have different type of growth and development, and these different type of growth and development are different because the hormones, the estrogen and the testosterone, which are responsible for developing this secondary sexual characters, and that is importance of the hormones present in the different hormones present in boys and girls. Write short note on human sperm. Now human sperm, what is the human sperm? It is actually the one male cell. It contains either the X chromosome or the Y chromosome, and either one of the chromosome it is carrying in its head. Now I had told you the diagrammatic part. The sperm contains a head. Either it will have the one X chromosome and one Y chromosome, or then it will have one middle piece which will contain the mitochondria part and one tail which is helping in the movement in the uterus. Give scientific reasons. Now I am giving you some questions which you have to give the scientific reasons for. The first one, The daughter cells produced by asexual reproduction are genetically identical to the parent cell. The daughter cell which are coming out or formed due to asexual reproduction are happening due to mitosis. Here the diploid cell is not getting converted to haploid cell, and therefore it is only the cell is dividing with equal number of chromosomes, and that is why the daughter cells, which are so called daughter cells, are exactly similar copy of parent cells. There is no variation, there is no fusion, and since there is no fusion of two different individuals, obviously whichever the cell is there, it is dividing, the daughter cell is going to get the same characteristics from its parent. Second, give reason question. Some flowers have attractive colored petals and sweet fragrance. Why? Now what are petals for? What is a flower? Flower is a functional unit of a whole tree. This functional unit carries out the sexual reproduction. The sexual reproduction requires pollination. Now pollination requires insects. So what is the nature doing? Here the nature has provided beautiful colors to the petals and nice fragrance to the flower. Now what is this nice fragrance? Fragrance means nice sweet smell. You can smell if it is a rose, you know it is a rose, you know it is a mogra, you know it is a lily because of its smell. So this smell attracts the insects for pollination. Beautiful colored flowers also attract the insects for pollination. So this is important as the pollination process. Give reason why testes are located outside the abdominal cavity. Now all the parts of human system are present inside the human cavity or human abdomen. But why is testis present outside? Now testes have to produce sperms, and this production of sperms is possible only when it doesn't have that high temperature around it. It requires a lower temperature. Our body is quite warm inside, and that warmth is not utilized, or that warmth is not useful for production of sperms, and therefore the body is made with the testis outside the body, and that testis is present in a structure which is called as scrotum. Give reason children born to older women may be defective. Now this is very important as the eggs are already formed in the girl when she is born. 2 to 4 million eggs are already formed. Only it is immature. When the girl reaches the puberty age around 14 to 15, the eggs one by one starts maturing. So by the time the female comes to the age of 40 to 45, the eggs are already 20 years old. And so at the late age, if the pregnancy is there, the child may be abnormal because maybe the egg is quite old. Now give reason why sex education is important. It's very important for the students, for the children when they are growing in the puberty age. There is a lot of mental differences, there is a lot of body differences, body functions are different, their development is taking place, body development is taking place, mental growth is taking place. So if they are not educated about the proper education of different sexes, different types of male and female reproductive organs, they will not come to know what is right and what is wrong. So the facts should be taught to the students, and that is why such type of chapters are kept in your age, in the age of 15, so that you know and you do not have a misconception about the facts and what happens inside our body. How is it that how we can protect our body, how we can protect the undue problems which may come in our body because of lack of sex education. So sex education actually is the awareness program for the students, for the children at the age where they are more prone to all these things, where they may go in that side which is not known to them. Now they may also not know about the sexually transmitted diseases, and if they are knowing already what type of sexually transmitted diseases can happen to them, how dreadful, how dangerous it is, so they may stay away from these things. What is next question I'll give you? What is the function of sporangium? So where we saw sporangium? Sporangium is a ball-like structure which was present at the top of the filament in bread mold or the rhizopus. This rhizopus of bread mold is reproducing by the spore formation. This sporangium is carrying all the spores inside it. When the favorable condition comes and it matures, what happens? It bursts open. When it bursts open, lot of spores come out, and those spores fall back to the bread or the chapati or whatever food it is having, and the new plant or the new spores come out. This is how the infection of the fungus spreads very fast. What is the importance of contraceptives? Now the contraceptives are very important to keep away the sexually transmitted diseases and to avoid pregnancy. And this teenage pregnancy is very prevalent in Western countries, where they do not have the complete knowledge of if the teenage pregnancy is happening, what harm might come to the body of the female. And that's why it is very important that contraceptives should be used to avoid the pregnancy. Now I will give you some questions which are 1 mark questions. Only hardly one sentence or one word answer is there. What is the basic process in reproduction? So the basic process in reproduction is DNA copying. This is the basic process which is required, which a DNA has to be sent to the offspring. In which type of fission cyst formation takes place? Now cyst, if you remember, in multiple fission or the reproduction happening due to multiple fission, the cyst formation is taking place, where the unfavorable condition makes the amoeba form a cyst around it, develop inside, number of cell division happens inside the cyst, and when it matures and the favorable condition comes, it bursts open and number of all the amoeba comes out. This is happening multiple fission. For the multiple fission is a type of reproduction in which cyst formation is seen. What are hyphae? The hyphae are actually the thread-like structures which are attached to the sporangium and the filament of the mucor. How is diploid number restored in sexually reproducing animals? As I said, in sexual reproduction, meiosis takes place. The 2n number of chromosomes divide into haploid number n and n. But how does it restore? So in restoration, what happens in the fertilization process? The male cell and the female cell fuses together. Again, n and n becomes 2n, and this is how it is restored. What are the agents of cross-pollination? The cross-pollination happens between the flowers of the different plants, and the agents which are actually carrying the pollen grains can be wind, can be water, can be insects, can be animals. So these are the agents which are responsible for cross-pollination. Which part of the flower forms the seed and fruit in future? The seed is formed from ovule and ovary is forming the fruit. So this is the simple answer. Seed is formed from ovule and fruit is formed from ovary. Where are immature sperms stored in the male body? The sperms which are not mature for fertilization, they are stored in the part of the male reproductive part which is known as epididymis. The epididymis is surrounding the testis, where the immature sperms are stored, and when the maturity comes, one by one it matures. Which cell organelle is present in the middle part of the sperm? In the middle piece, the middle part of the sperm, the mitochondria is present for providing energy, as mitochondria is called the powerhouse of the cell. So for the sperm to move very fast, it needs energy, and that energy is provided by the mitochondria. Name the nutritive tissue present in seed. Now nutritive tissue present in seed is endosperm. Which part of the female reproductive system can be called the birth canal? So the vagina in the female reproductive parts or system is called the birth canal, through which the full developed fetus or the baby comes out. From where does a developing embryo receive nourishment during development? Now an embryo is developing into fetus, a fetus is completely developing into a baby. Now from where it is getting the nutrition? it is getting the nutrition through the umbilical cord, which is attached from the mother to the baby, and this is how the food and the oxygen and all the other things are exchanged between the mother and the baby. Which day is observed as a World Population Day? Now, since the population of the world is increasing, WHO has started celebrating World Population Day, and that is 11th July of each year. Name the following. Some questions I'll ask you, you have to name some examples for it. First, name the following. Unicellular organisms which reproduce by binary fission. Now, the binary fission is seen in amoeba, in euglena, and in paramecium. These are the three examples where binary fission is seen. Second, name the plants which undergo vegetative propagation. So, you have seen in potato, sweet potato, and in the bryophyllum, which is the leaf part. Next question, name the animals that reproduce asexually. So, the animals which reproduce asexually are the amoeba, the planaria, the hydra. So, these are the animals which can be called as the asexually reproducing animals. Name the parts of the carpel. Now, what was carpel? Carpel is the female reproductive organs found in plants, that means in the flower. So that there are three parts: stigma, style, and ovary. These are the names. Name the parts of stamen. The stamen is the male reproductive system or the parts. So it has two different parts. One is anther and one is filament. Name some of the sexually transmitted diseases. So the sexually transmitted diseases, first one we can say AIDS, then gonorrhea and syphilis, and fourth one is wart. So these are the four names which you can learn to write the STDs or the sexually transmitted diseases. Name the parts of female reproductive system in humans. Now you can just remember the diagram and you can write down the ovaries, the fallopian tube or the oviduct, the uterus, the cervix and the vagina. And name the parts of the male reproductive system. Again, we think of the diagram which we make. Then they are the testis, the epididymis, the scrotum, the seminal vesicle, the prostate gland, the vas deferens and the penis. So these are the various parts of male reproductive system. There are some fill in the blanks for 1 mark again. We'll discuss those. First one, human testis secrete dash hormone. Now human testis is secreting testosterone hormone. You can remember T and T, how it's very easy to remember that way. Second, ovaries in female reproductive system secrete dash hormone. So ovaries secrete estrogen hormone, estrogen. Mucor forms spores inside dash. Now mucor is a bread mold. It forms spores inside the sporangium. So answer is sporangium. Euglena shows binary fission in dash plane. Now how does binary fission takes place in euglena? Either transverse or longitudinal. So I had shown you with the diagram, the euglena divides lengthwise, that is longitudinal mode or longitudinal plane. Next, fill in the blank. During unfavorable conditions, amoeba withdraws its dash. So amoeba is walking or locomoting with the help of pseudopodia. So when unfavorable condition comes, all the pseudopodia is withdrawn. So answer is pseudopodia. Dash of sweet potato give rise to new plants. Now sweet potato is a part which is used for vegetative propagation. So the answer is roots of the roots of the sweet potato are used as vegetative propagation method for reproduction. So these were some of the extra questions which I have shared and discussed with you in this lesson. This lesson is very important in terms of the diagrams and its labeling. Most of the questions carry marks if you are also drawing the diagram along with the explanation. And as I said, diagram should be neatly made, all the labeling should be done on the right side and the labeling should be correct. Then you can get easily the full marks for that. Thus we come to the end of this lesson, the life cycle, and I hope you will take the tips which I have already told you for making the diagrams, writing the answer point wise and making your answer to the precise to the point wise.